Please be a patriot. I think that is more important than being a nationalist. So these people think that the 9 p.m. debates is the gospel truth, is the reality. But the fact is that truth is stranger than fiction. Why are people looking at AMU as a madrasa? I think the communists are the last of the mohicans who are standing against a very fascist regime. Like, look at films. We have films being made like what, Kashmir Files. But I'm sorry, you cannot be having biryani at my house and talking about genocide and cheering on of genocide in Gaza. Then you're not my friend. How anyone can continue with an ongoing onslaught of children and women? When you're talking about the political ideology and what is happening, geopolitically, I think we are in a very precarious situation. Okay, we are seeing a right-wing shift not only in India but globally. Now we have seen the rise of majoritarian politics, whether in India, whether in Bangladesh, whether in Pakistan. We have seen the white supremacists in US, and we have seen how the immigrants are being treated in these imperialistic countries where they promote this oligarchy. We've seen how the media is controlled by a selected few. We've seen it happening in America, and for the past 8, 9, 12 years we've seen it happening in India. So when media is controlled by these oligarchs in India, and we know who the oligarchs are in India, they are controlling the narrative of how people in India think. So these people think that the 9 p.m. debates is the gospel truth, is the reality. But the fact is that truth is stranger than fiction. And they're people, they're journalists who are putting their lives out there, who are covering stories. But we hear of cases in UP and so many other states where they have covered a corruption case, they've covered a land mining case, they've covered suicide cases, they've covered Dalit suicides, they've seen. So what happens is they're trying to throttle dissent. See, dissent is a separate thing. But the point is, when our journalists are being threatened and they are being nagged and they are asking you to cover pro-government stories, what kind of journalism is that? That is the question. So we are living in very Orwellian times where vigilantism is being normalized. We have seen how the state is trying to control the media, the judiciary, the executive, the legislative, the education. I mean, it is appalling now. If you look at the new education policy, the point is, it's worrisome if the students start treating superstitions as the scientific truth. The point is that history, good or bad, has to be treated pragmatically. Now it becomes really worrying when 400 years of history is being completely erased to suit a certain narrative, because it makes people uncomfortable to talk about how the Mughals did not come here as innovators. They came here and made India their home. They contributed to a fertile legacy of food, of music, of culture, of architecture, of way the people live. They did not run away with the jewels, of India and go off to Afghanistan or some other country. So somebody, an empire that ruled here for 400 years is being demonized. Now let's not talk about the Mughals, let's go a little contemporary and talk about even rulers like Tipu Sultan. We know what kind of legacy he had down south, but if that history is going to be demonized, and say he came as his ruler who was trying to usurp India's rich, fertile, the possessions, then what kind of history are our children learning? That is the basic part. So I think it's both pessimistic and a little ray of hope is there, that where we've seen Zoran Mamdani become the New York, mayor, that is a promising sign. Definitely. See, my father has been in the Indian Army. He served the Indian Army for 40 years. And he retired as the Deputy Chief of the Indian Army. Later on, he became the Vice Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University. So, 2 years with the Congress, 3 years with the BJP. You know how challenging it is to run a university that is a national university, reputed worldwide. There's a lot of politics that you have to deal with every day. There's somebody putting in a case, something or the other, but being an army man, he brought in a lot of discipline. The whole discipline where people thought that they can just walk into the VCs wearing anything they feel like. So being an army person, he got in a dress code. He said, let's revive the Sherwani, let's revive the Tehzeeb. So what does Tehzeeb mean in Urdu? It means culture. Let's revive the ethos of AMU, let's make it a world-class university. I feel a little unsettled when I see people arriving late or something. Right now, comrade told me this is the time for the interview, I'm ready 15 minutes before. So I ensure that discipline of the army stays with you, and army has been a wonderful life. Unfortunately, we have to face the present government, but I would say something that army life has been very beautiful. It has been a very inclusive organization, very progressive organization, and I still stick to what I say, that there's no much inclusive and more secular organization than the Indian Army. Why are people looking at AMU as a madrasa? That is the main question, and I think madrasas are also being unnecessarily demonized today because they feel it's a fertile ground for some extremist ideas, but it is not. Madrasas, if you look at the thing, it is for people who do not otherwise afford mainstream education. They go to the madrasas. In small town, there are no primary schools, there are no secondary schools. So where will a child go? He or she will go to a madrasa. So I think it becomes our moral responsibilities as educated people to set the narrative straight, be it in our literary pursuits, be it in our political pursuits, be it in our cultural pursuits, because the entire ecosystem has been hogged by the right-wing narrative and thought. We suddenly see these people who are floating a certain narrative on all media channels. Suddenly I am shouting on these television channels and my volume gets muted or my volume comes down because it makes them uncomfortable. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to just hear what has been told by the bosses, that today the farmers are protesting. You change the narrative and you show on TV that there are some anti-nationals sitting in JNU. So obviously this particular political party gives a brief to his anchors that you have to deflect this situation and show it like this. So I think it's a little worrisome that the education is being corroded. Slowly we are accepting supernatural or superstitions to be science, and that is a very worrying sign. And then suddenly we are seeing religion take over the national discourse, where you are talking about majoritarianism, because India has been a land of plurality. As an Indian Army officer's daughter, we have seen our father who had an all prayer room, and the religion of your men that you were commanding becomes your religion. You might be from the Muslim faith, But when you're out there, you're carrying the religion of your fellow men. So you're celebrating in all festivals, you are showcasing what secularism is all about. And I think that is largely missing in the national dialogue of today. As a woman, and B, whether people like it or not, I do come from the minority community. It is, however secular one might be, the fact is it's doubly challenging for a woman to be politically active. B, it's not a good time for minorities in the country, let's face it and call a spade a spade. Secondly, being a minority. Thirdly, being a thinking individual, a thinking woman, is something that it's not in their memo, right? Yeah, it's not in the memo. I fought the Lok Sabha from Kolkata South last year on a CPM ticket, and I was supported by the Congress. Trust me, it's not easy. You're out there campaigning, and then you have to take permissions. Your permissions are being denied because it's not just the TMC, you have to fight against the Bharatiya Janata Party. So I'm saying that today, the present, the powers to be are not kind on feminists, they're not kind on women, they're not at all kind to the minorities, they're not kind to the professors, the scholars, the people who promote art, literature. Like, look at films, we have films being made like what, Kashmir Files, Calcutta Files, what? Calcutta, some files, some Dhurandhar has come out. What are they trying to show? I mean, there's another film that's come out called 21. See, all the nationalistic films that have come out have a very strong element of Islamophobia. So you are beating the already cornered community with a stick. You have to understand who the cornered community is in India, which are the minorities, the Dalits, the women, the Christians, the other, LGBTQIA and everything. And you're telling them that if you do not keep quiet, this is what we can do. And I think that is exactly what they tried to do with Aryan Khan's arrest. If you look at a couple of years ago, when Shah Rukh Khan's son got arrested, it was to send a very powerful message that you might be Shah Rukh Khan for all we care, but end of the day, we have to remind you of your immediate identity and your son's immediate identity, and that is the tragic part. Yeah, so I've just written a book, it's published by Penguin, it's called Comrades and Comebacks. I have been writing extensively political essays for India Today and other portals many years. I've been part of many national debates, asides me fighting the elections, both the Baliganj bypoll, where I defeated the BJP and the Congress with the overwhelming majority in 2022. Babul Supriyo was my rival in 2022. However, like I'm saying, I technically had won the election in 2022, but the party was not in a good position, and a lot of my wards, allegedly, they were ruled by these goons, and they ensured that they overcome the margin that was there to defeat me by a lot of false voting and rigging. That is what has been alleged from the different booths. But even in these times, I can say, being a woman and being from the minority community in 2022, I defeated the BJP with the overwhelming margin, and also the Congress, who apparently, incidentally, was planted there to divide my minority votes. So this is how politics works, and this is it. However, we need to amplify our voices for the marginalized. So who are the marginalized today? They are the farmers, they are the disenfranchised, they are the Dalits who otherwise do not have a voice in everyday life, and it's important to talk about. What happened with Gauri Lankesh and so many other people has been very unfortunate. They were shot point blank for being what they are, for articulating their thoughts in public life, and they paid a price for that, and I think it's very tragic. See, I have been in the corporate booths for many years. For 17, 18 years, I've worked with some of the top multinational companies as a training manager, as a senior trainer, as someone from business development. And work, no, I haven't faced discrimination, to tell you honestly, because I felt that to avoid discrimination, I have to be the best that I can be so that I do not face discrimination. So I started working harder for myself because I know there's a systematic erasure of minority voices or erasure of minorities even in corporates. So it was very, very important for me to work on myself so that I don't get discriminated, because the only way that you can face discrimination is to be better than your competitor. Yeah, to be better than your competitor or to be better than all the other applicants. And I did not face erasure in my working career as a corporate career woman, but as anybody else, there is a otherization everywhere. And if I say the otherization doesn't happen, it happens. India and Palestine have had such a rich legacy. You look at Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, we still were very, very supportive of Palestine. But this new narrative about this bonhomie with Israel and hosting the Israeli, the PM, and he going to Israel, the Israeli PM coming here, Netanyahu, I mean, it is absurd. It is so alarming. I mean, it's beyond me. How anyone can continue with an ongoing onslaught of children and women, and also hospitals, aid workers, aid seekers, and go and attack people like that who are only seeking aid. So I think it's important for civil societies, NGOs, other vocal public people to come out and just not, make their films and make their money and just go back home. Because if you cannot use your platform to raise your voice against injustices, what is the good of making so much of money when you cannot do that? I haven't visited Gaza, but I have visited a lot of South Asian countries for different events. Most of the South Asian countries. Gaza I have not visited as yet, but I have amplified my voice where is necessary, be it on national TV, be it in the print and other public discourses. I've been very vocal about my support for Gaza. I mean, look at Greta Thunberg. It takes a lot of courage to, be on the ship, Freedom Flotilla, because, and that also Freedom Flotilla was being portrayed as this anti-national or whatever, this kind of a ship, but it was only carrying humanitarian aids for people, like infant powder milk, medicines, sanitary pads, and everything else that the general public needs. There's so many people I have had to delete from my social media handles because there were people who were coming to my house and enjoying biryani, and other time they were talking about minorities in a very regressive way. They might not directly be telling me, but I'm sorry, you cannot be having biryani at my house and talking about genocide and cheering on of genocide in Gaza. Then you're not my friend. If you're cheering for a genocide in Gaza and you're having biryani at my house, it just shows how hypocritical a person can be. And I think it's very important to have political clarity on where you stand on these issues and be very vociferous about what you are. Even technically, it takes a lot for you to put your views out there, considering that for more than 5 years, all these people have been in jail. Omar Khalid has not even received bail. His bail has been denied again. But these people apparently were the bravest, most vocal of these people, and they were not liked by the government. And that is why they are facing what they're facing. And it's sad because even Zoran Mamdani has voiced his sign of protest by talking about Omar Khalid in those couple of lines that he wrote to Omar Khalid's father. And I think it's very important for us not to forget these people. So I was attending a literature festival in 2020 when the Delhi riots broke out. and we knew why the Delhi riots were happening, okay, because here you are laying down a draconian law which does not have the consent of the general public, and you are othering a community from citizenship, and you are saying that there are certain people who are eligible for citizenship, some people whose citizenship is again going to be question mark. That is why the whole sloganeering hum kagaz nahi dikhayenge and everything going out. So it was a very spontaneous what you call movement where everybody participated in whatever way they can. And I think it went on till the pandemic. I think everything kind of slowed down, but it was very important to voice your point of view against it, because India has always been an equitable country where citizens, who a citizen will be is not determined by the religion or the faith that you keep in your house. And I think that is when you realize that the country is changing for the worse. When you make religion a denominator of who a citizen or who a citizen cannot be. So it was not only the Muslims, it was educated, literate people, thinking people, people who had brains, who were out on the roads protesting very peacefully. Some people are paying a price, of course. Like I said, some people are in jail for the last 5 years for this alleged so-called role. But we need to understand it was a lot of people from the majority religion and very less from the minority religion who had allegedly role to play in the 2020 what do you call this Delhi riots. But because the government doesn't like some people's names, so they have to pay a price for it. I think the communists are the last of the mohicans who are standing against a very fascist regime, a very authoritarian regime, because everyone else is kind of settling down, because they are peddling this soft Hindutva, or what you call playing up to the gallery, and CPIM and other left parties are the only ones who do not talk about religion in the public space. I mean, the left is not against religion, but the point is when you go around campaigning in the name of religion or caste-based politics, we know that we are becoming a very, very kind of retrograde state if we start doing that. And I think principally the left needs to make a comeback in Kerala, in Tripura and Kerala, and perhaps we've seen how we've had representation in Bihar. We had a few numbers. It's very important for people to understand that left is the only party that will stand by you, whether it's something happening in Gaza, whether it's something happening in Venezuela, whether it's to do with the disenfranchised in India and the other countries, marginalized in other countries. I think the other states, if you look at it, this is, I'm not talking about the North Indian states, I'm talking at least the South states who are really fighting back. Odisha has a very good chance of fighting back. Tripura, it's unfortunate I've written why Tripura lost its citizenship. Tripura has a very strong chance of getting back. This year, West Bengal Assembly elections, we hope to win a few seats, because like I said, the whole only answer is going back to the grassroots. With the whole neoliberalism war, somehow I felt that the party did face anti-incumbency in West Bengal, but the moment is ripe. Considering what is happening in across the world, we've seen how Zoran Mamdani, despite he being very vocal about he being a social democrat, he's been very vocal that I am a social democrat, and he is not shied away from the religion. There are a lot of people who are apologetic of the faith. They're like, I'm this and I'm that, and I'm this liberal and all that. he's actually owned up. He said, I'm a Muslim, I'm a social democrat, and the most damning of all, you know, that I'm not ashamed for any of these identities. So it's very important to own up to your identity, not shy up to that, and despite that, if people vote for the larger cause, that look, he might be a Muslim, however, the point is, however, he's standing for the marginalized, he's standing for every New Yorker, he's, you know, going to freeze the rent, he's standing up against the oligarchs, he's standing against blatant capitalism. You know, if we can somehow sustain that and show that we are bigger than our immediate identity. So don't put us in a box. You know, our ideas are far more progressive than what you make us to be. It is a suppression when people start putting people in a box and feel there are people who don't know where they can fit these people. They sometimes feel, oh, progressive, so could be a Maoist, oh, or is she a jihadi, or is she like what, or are you a worshipper of Mao or Stalin, or what is. So people are, this is the national media who have actually kind of name called people. They invite you on panels and they try and put you in box, and they suddenly realize that none of these boxes are fitting you. Then they just go on overdrive. See, my uncle Nasiruddin Shah, he is my father, Lieutenant General Zamiruddin Shah's younger brother. He is younger than him by close to 2 years. So during my campaign, he put out a video. If you see my book, he's written what do you call, at the back, he's given a few comments on it. He's given a blurb. So they have been supportive. My father came for my campaign. My parents came for my campaign. My sister, who is married to a naval aviator, they came down, she came down. Of course, my brother-in-law, being in the, he cannot campaign for me. My brother, who was in the army, came down and supported my campaign. He was out in the dust with me, in the, you know, in the different areas of my constituencies. So family has been supportive, of course. To the viewers of Sabha TV, I like to say it's more important to be a patriot than to be a nationalist. A patriot asks very, very discerning, important questions. And I feel a national sometimes follows orders, diktats from the government blindly. So please be a patriot. I think that is more important than being a nationalist. Please question, and do not just, you know, say very good to what is happening. It's important to exercise your franchisee. Please vote, and please play an important part, because today all our decisions in the country are political. So you cannot say that I'm apolitical and not be part of you know, the public discourse of what is happening in the country. Please be political, and political doesn't mean just fighting elections. Be political in how you kind of spend your life, and how your outreach is, and what you think. I think everything is political these days. Thank you so much.